Welcome to the Womanhood. Today we were talking about genital warts, and we are here with Dr. Nana Abanimta of St. John's Hospital and Fertility Center in Tantra Health. Welcome to the program, Doc.
Thank you very much, madam.
And thank you for honoring our invitation. Can you please tell us what genital warts is?
Yes, so basically, once you hear genital warts, then you are talking about some form of lesions, okay, or some form of growth which tend to appear in the genital area, okay. So they might appear as bump-like lesions, or sometimes they might appear as this kind of tiny finger-like projections, okay, or they appear as the way cauliflower usually looks like. So we usually say they have a cauliflower-like appearance, okay. And this type of lesions would appear on one's genital area when the person is exposed to HPV or human papillomavirus.
Who gets genital warts?
Yes.
Who gets it?
So genital warts is caused by the human papillomavirus, okay, what we call HPV to cut it short. So any form of exposure to human papillomavirus would put you at risk of getting genital warts. And with the human papillomavirus, there are a lot of subtypes, okay, so many subtypes. Usually subtype group 6 and 11 are responsible for genital warts, okay. And to get it, there should be a sustained contact with someone who has it, or with an infectious person, okay. So once you have this form of sustained contact with an infectious person, then it puts you at risk of getting genital warts, okay. And most of the time, once you are looking at genital warts, you are looking at the genital area. So sustained contact would usually tend to be sexual contact, okay. So more of a sustained sexual contact with someone who has it would put you at risk or predispose you to getting genital warts.
Thank you. Can you please give us the symptoms of these genital warts?
Yes. So I would say exposure to this HPV or human papillomavirus would usually be asymptomatic, or would usually, you won't see any symptoms in the initial stage, okay. So one can actually harbor this HPV or this virus for a very long time, okay. And then the lesions will start to appear, okay. So basically you would have to see this bump-like lesions, as I said, or finger-like projections, or any different form of lesion, any unnatural lesions which appear around your genital area, okay. Then we are looking at something like genital warts.
How long does it take to appear?
So well, research has shown that it can take as long as 2 weeks to about 8 months, okay. Sometimes it even goes beyond 8 months, but usually 2 weeks to 8 months, and we'll say the average or the peak time for it occurring is about 4 months, okay. So once you are exposed, you could harbor it for as long as 8 months or even beyond before the lesions will pop up. Okay.
Thank you, Doc. For all your events coverage, contact Smile GH Photography. They are on all the social media platforms. A very big thank you to Fit Fiesta Hotel, which is located at Community 22 in Tema. Their service include, they have accommodation, restaurants, the bar, the pool. You can contact them on 0551 187954. Dog.
Yes.
You made mention of how long it takes for the warts to appear. How can this be treated? How can genital warts be treated?
Yeah. So once the lesions appear, okay, then you'd have to bring it in for us to examine and to be sure that you've got genital warts. But basically, we would say diagnosing genital warts is more of clinical.
Okay.
So any health professional who is trained will see and know this is genital warts. Okay. We have different modalities of treatment when it comes to genital warts. We've got medications that allow for topical application. Okay, you are basically going to put this medication over the wart. Okay. This medication tends to be cytotoxic, meaning they are going to kill the abnormal cell growth. So they kill it, and then you have the genital warts disappearing. Okay. And also, there are other form of treatments where you can actually freeze this warts. Okay. So in freezing this warts, we call it cryotherapy. Okay, or cryosurgery. So we freeze the warts, and then the warts tend to fall off. Okay. Or you can actually use a very hot iron, what we call diathermy. So with this diathermy, then you are going to burn away the warts with the diathermy. Or basically, we can actually do a surgical excision where you cut and then you close the area. Okay. But may I add that after the treatment, it doesn't mean that the HPV is out of the system. Okay. Because it is treatable, but it's not curable. Usually that's what we say. Because after the treatment, after the warts go away, then you could still have the HPV being in your system. So with time, you could actually develop a recurrent wart. Okay, you could what appears, you take it off, and then it might appear again.
Okay.
Right.
So how does it affect pregnancy?
Yes. So usually with warts, taking a female with warts, okay, we would say that let's take pregnancy first off with fertility. Okay. So with a female, we would say what shouldn't prevent you from getting pregnant. Okay. But then, yes, though, there are fertility issues. Okay. And this would usually arise from the male, because we did studies and then we realized that once a male has the HPV, the semen of the male sort of becomes contaminated or infected by the HPV. And a contaminated semen, you are always going to have issues, okay, fertilizing the egg. Because once the semen is contaminated with HPV, then it's sort of going to bring your fertility status down. So during the fusion of the sperm and the egg, it might not lead to a viable embryo or a live embryo. Okay, so that is one of the ways that it might affect pregnancy. But then, if pregnancy even happens, then you have risk of miscarriages. Okay, so with those ones that will be able to go through fertilization and have an initial embryo forming, there's a risk of getting a miscarriage, because this sperm that fused the egg, was infected in the first place, so your risk of miscarriages go up. Okay, but let's say you're able to go through that, egg is fertilized, you'd have a baby forming. Okay, a female who has genital warts would now have an overgrowth of this wart. Why? Because usually the warts prefer a very moist area, and we know that with pregnancy in the female state, there are changes. Okay, so the genital area actually becomes more moist or extra moist, and in this way you are going to have excess warts development, or the warts would overgrow. Also, pregnancy is associated with some form of hormonal change or hormonal imbalance, and also during pregnancy the immune system sort of goes down, so all this will pave way for the wart overgrowing. So once you have excessive growth of warts, then it becomes another complication for us in pregnancy. That is when we get to your delivery stage. Okay, because once the warts get so huge, and let's say the warts actually block the passage where your baby is supposed to come from, then we have a decision to make whether you'd have to go in for cesarean, yes, or would have to allow you to deliver. Okay, because there are also risks to the baby. It doesn't always happen, but once the baby is exposed to very, very huge genital warts, the baby can have some of the viruses getting into the system. And then there's something we call laryngeal papilloma, meaning you have some warts developing over the larynx, or where the baby is supposed to talk from. You'll have some warts developing over such areas. Okay.
That was actually my next question, but it seems you've already answered it. had wanted to know whether if it is going to have an effect on the baby.
Yes.
But you've answered it. How can this genital warts be prevented?
Yes.
What can one do?
So we are actually looking at sexual contact, and genital warts from HPV infection, as we say, is actually very, very common. A recent study showed that it's actually the commonest sexually transmitted infection, but then we tend to overlook it. Okay, but it's actually very, very, very common, and main way is actually to abstain if it's possible. Okay, because you might never know. Yes, you might never know, because the thing is that when you have a partner who has HPV or has been infected with the human papilloma virus, the partner might not even show the lesions, but this partner is infected. So even in the absence of the lesion, the partner can still transmit the infection to you.
Okay, so I want to get this. That means genital warts is not a female thing. It's both male and female.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So both male or the female can actually get genital warts. Okay. With the females, they'll usually have the wart over the vulva, the vulvar area, or it can actually go inside to the vaginal area, or it can actually go to the cervical area. Okay. And with the males, they usually have it on the penis. Okay, so you can actually have it in both the males and the females. But as I said, sometimes you might be exposed, you have the infection, but then the lesions wouldn't have popped up yet. And even with sustained sexual contact, you can actually develop HPV even when the lesions are absent. So someone might ask, what about condoms? They are helpful. They would reduce the contacts in a way, but then they are not 100%. You could still use your condoms, and then once you have sustained contacts, you have your pubic area touching the female's pubic area, and you have some form of infection there, you could develop the warts. So condom is not like 100%. Okay. The best thing is to have, if abstaining is difficult, then you have to be faithful, as we say. Okay, you have to be faithful. You have to avoid multiple sexual partners. Okay, and we know that once you partake in anal sex, your risk of getting it is also very, very, very raised. So it's very, very imperative that you avoid unhealthy sexual practices.
Okay, Doc, is there any vaccines that can prevent genital warts?
Yes, so currently we've got 3 vaccines on the market. So we have the Severex, the Gardasil 4 and Gardasil 9, and once you get that, then it gives you some form of lifelong immunity. Okay. Once once you haven't been exposed to the human papilloma virus. Once you haven't been exposed, and then you get vaccinated, then it offers you protection against this genital wart. Okay. And for females, not only the genital warts, but it's also able to offer you protection against cervical cancer, which we know that is caused by human papilloma virus.
Thank you so much. And what would be your advice to our viewers, and especially the youth?
So I would like everyone to know that HPV is out there, okay, and it's causing genital warts, and it's very, very real. Okay, it's actually the commonest STI, or sexually transmitted infection. So the best way, as we would always say, is if it's possible to abstain until you are ready, then you have to. Okay, you have to abstain, or you have to be faithful. You have to avoid multiple sexual partners, and you have to avoid unhealthy sexual practices as well. Okay.
Thank you so much. We are so grateful, and this is the womanhood, and we are so grateful to you for coming, and also to St. John's Hospital and Fertility Center, located at Central Hill in Accra. And to Smile Photography, we say a big thank you. To Fig Fiesta Hotel, to Amelie, we say thank you for handling our social media platforms, and to Gina Strand for my hair. You can contact them on 0244816966. To Marigold for my outfit. And a very big thank you to Charlotte for my beat. You can contact her on 055 133 3061. 055 133 3061. And you can also check us on all the social media networks. Facebook is the Womanhood, Instagram is the Womanhood _, Twitter is the Womanhood _, YouTube is the Womanhood. Thank you so much. The Womanhood, be bold and step up.